So I get this comment from somebody that I cared about for many years, somebody that's in my life. Someone had said, because these people don't talk to you, it's because of a result of this reason. And they said, have you considered that it has everything to do with your political stance and social media obsession? It's hard to support Trump and Musk and still have compassionate people respect you. Just saying. I said, I mean, that's like saying that more than half of the USA and a good portion of the world is uncompassionate because they support Trump. Some, like myself, find Trump's policies, such as not allowing men to take women's trophies in sports, as compassionate. And some find that men claim to be women are actually women. And that is just a fundamental difference of opinion. Neither side is more or less compassionate than the other side, in my honest opinion. To say that your virtue is better than my virtue is a logical fallacy. Or, for example, Trump kicking 150-year-olds off Social Security because they have long been dead. That, in my honest opinion, is compassionate to me and the kids who receive Social Security, because the well is drying up and dead people shouldn't be receiving benefits. And, for example, the money that Doge is saving, 20% of that will go directly back to taxpayers in the form of a $5,000 check. I get that you believe your virtue is more virtuous. I disagree. And anyway, and then and I said, my obsession with social media is me adding a bit of balance to the ether of media out there. When the media is controlled mostly by 6 corporations, and those corporations support a certain type of narrative, I find it to be my duty to add another voice to balance it all. And so in that, in my history here of doing media, you'll see that 11 years ago, I talked about, for example,
can you tell the folks at home that no matter what happens, the Social Security checks are going to go out on August the 3rd?
Federal government
They're about $20 billion worth of
social programs. And this was way before Trump or Elon got involved with government at all. And I was talking about how, we have so many trillions in debt. Our interest on that debt per year is more than our military budget. We pay well over $1.1 trillion a year in interest on the debt that we have in this country. That's well over our military budget. Our government was never designed to have all these social programs or to tax people. None of that was part of our Constitution or our forming of this country. And taxes were supposed to be temporary when they did give us income taxes. But if you look at income taxes, all it is that somebody else owns a portion of your labor. If somebody else owns a portion of your labor, you're essentially a slave. So I've always disagreed with that. Long before Elon or Trump became political in any way, or in government in any way. And you'll see Ron Paul, this is somebody that I've supported. This is something he said 12 years ago in the same manner, in the same reasoning. Penn Jillette actually talked about something very important in all of this. And this is where, you cut people off from talking to you because you believe your ideology is the most compassionate and that other people who believe differently are not compassionate. For example, you just cut them
and that
off.
all of this is an illusion, and that is an airtight argument. You can't refute it. But let's just say it's not that. I think there's a real reality out there. And the people who say, I believe in God because I feel that there's some higher power in the universe, the problem I have with that is that once you've said you believe something that you can't prove to someone else, you have completely walled yourself off from the world. And you've essentially said no one can talk to you and you can talk to no one. You've also given license to everybody else who feels that. If you say to me, I can't prove it, Ben, but I have a feeling in my heart that there is a power over everything.
So, he's talking about religion or God, but that applies to other things. Like, for example, I want to show you this major issue with, for example, men in women's sports. So there is a report from the UN that shows that men in women's sports have won nearly 900 medals. Men competing against women. Now, there will be people that say, well, these are actually women even though they were born men. No, they don't have XX chromosomes. No, they were not built like women. They grew up like men. They have the same advantages, bone structure, muscle tone, all the advantages of years of testosterone, and etc. No, they are not women. And to say, well, they feel like women, or they believe they're women, or I believe they're women, that's the same thing as saying, I believe in God and I'm right and you're wrong. And I don't subscribe to that with God or religion. I don't subscribe to that with, transgender issues. I mean, and people who do cut off everybody else from having any kind of an opinion, which is another reason why I do media, which is why it's been important to me. So 150-year-olds receiving Social Security benefits, that is tragic, if it's true. I haven't saw all the evidence, but, the reports are coming on the Doge website and on Twitter, and they're showing evidence of these things, and all of these weird programs they funded, like making transgender mice, funding millions of dollars worth of research to make mice transgender, and, LGBT play in Ireland, and a LGBT comic book in Guatemala. None of that helps U.S. taxpayers that are funding this. So I agree with that. And the fact that Doge may possibly give a $5,000 check and all these savings to all of Americans, that shows some compassion. That shows, hey, the government's saving money. The government's saving our money. So what are they going to do? Well, they're going to refund some of it to us and pay off the debt with the rest. That's a good use of the money. And with $36 trillion in debt, that's unsustainable. No other country has that kind of debt. So I find all of their policies very compassionate. And at least half of the voters in the U.S. found all of these policies compassionate, because that's what Trump and Elon and others campaigned on for Trump. That was exactly what they said they would do. They would, shrink the government. They would cut wasteful spending, and they would go after these, irrelevant and costly programs. The Department of Education, we spend more per student than any other nation. We're dead last in education. Things like that need to change. How is that not compassionate? We should be focusing on getting better scores, not on spending more money, right? So, I've made this media for, since 2002. I don't make money off of it. I do it because 6 corporations own the media. Like 95% of media is owned by 6 corporations. The 6 really 3, because the parent companies own the subsidiaries, so it's really just 3 major corporations own most of the media. Own media. And, you can just look at this, that, it's crazy. The big 6 big media game. You look at these things, is a statement that only 6 corporations all own all major media outlets. Not that they own all of them, it's that they own a majority of them by far. And so I put my voice out there. Yeah, see, these 6 corporations control 96% of media outlets in America. I put my media out there as a counter, as just another voice in the ether, because these 6 corporations have one particular narrative, and that narrative sways to only one side. It's not like it's a balanced approach to reporting things. There is an agenda there. And that agenda is one-sided, and I just think the more voices that are out there, the better. We saw it. I've been shadow banned. I've been deplatformed. We saw the president of the United States, Donald Trump, get deplatformed and shadow banned and taken off media. Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro and a whole list of other people. A Jew and a black person, got taken off of, deplatformed off social media because they have a conservative voice. And so these corporations are controlling that. And so, yes, with social media, we find a little bit of balance. And so I put my voice out there, not for making money, but because I think it's my obligation. And I've fought for free speech all of my life. I can show you. I got arrested in Springville, Utah for voicing my opinion, giving out free T-shirts. So you can see where I've always supported. That was 13 years ago. Ron Paul says legalize freedom. If you look at Ron Paul's policies, that's what I'm supporting. I'm not supporting Elon Musk or Donald Trump. I'm supporting libertarian policies. There's another one by Ron Paul. Another one by Ron Paul. Ron Paul supporting legalization of cannabis. Here's the teen suicide and police abuse in Springville, Utah. This is talking about LGBT kids and Mormon policies. This is me fighting for LGBT people and their dignity and their rights and being compassionate to those who are finding themselves harmed by societal laws and normals, and social norms. So I've tried to put balance in the LGBT thing as well, to fight for those people's rights and dignity. Just look that up. It's by Reverend Rye. It's my ex-cannabis channel on YouTube. Teen suicide and police abuse in Springville, Utah. Cannabis awareness. Where was it that I got arrested? And here's me protesting for marijuana law reform 15 years ago in Provo, Utah. So long before there was this issue with LGBT things, I fought for those issues. I stood up for those people, but I also stood up for a lot of other issues, and it's to put balance in the ether of other media that seems to be swayed to one side and not the other. I don't know if I can find that, but it's here somewhere where I actually changed. And people who say, your media is not popular. Let's see, Reverend Rye, 160,000 views. This is another one, Reverend Rye, 357,000 views. That was before I was deplatformed. That was before I was shadow banned. I was getting hundreds of thousands, even millions of views. Let's see. Barack, can we count on you to keep your promises? This is me congratulating Barack Obama for winning the election and asking him to keep his promises about marijuana law reform. He didn't. But I said in that I supported Ralph Nader. I was a Green Party politician. I've supported Ralph Nader for 12 years before I started supporting Ron Paul. Ron Paul just made more sense. But you can look at all these. These are on here from decades ago, and this is my, fight. It's not just one-sided. I have a lot of different areas that I'm working on, and I believe all of those areas are compassionate. It's trying to help other people. Freedom, liberty, free speech. I believe in all of that. I don't believe in cancel culture. I don't believe in men beating up women in the Olympics, like what happened in the last Olympics in France. I don't believe that men can become women. I don't believe in transitioning children or sterilizing them at a young age. I believe that there's laws for tattoos, there's laws for drinking, there's laws for driving that are age-based for a reason. And I think that those hormones and those sterilization drugs are similar. They make permanent changes to young people with young minds that haven't completely formed their brains or their opinions on things. And so they shouldn't be transitioning at those young ages. And I believe in what Trump and Elon and others are doing to restrict states from transitioning children. Anyway, there's a lot of this. Brian Head Welch sits down with Pat Robinson. Brian Head Welch from Korn became a Christian, I think, in 2006, which was 6 years after I became a Christian, after I started following Christ. But since then, I've even expanded my view. I'm more Gnostic now. I believe in the search of spiritual wisdom and spiritual knowledge, wherever it comes from, whether it's Christ, the Anunnaki, Buddhism, Taoism, whatever it is, and I search all of those things. I've studied a lot about Hinduism. I'm not dogmatic. I've always let my kids search out and seek the things they want. I've taken them all around the world. I've never forced them to go to church or read the Bible or pray. Even when I held a little church service in Spokane, Washington, I rented an office and I held a church service. I never enforced that in my family. I never demanded anybody come and attend. I've always let my kids have free will. But I believe in that. I believe in free will, free speech, and freedom of religion, freedom of everything, as long as it doesn't hurt other people. And I think that these policies of men beating up women or, allowing kids to transition or sterilizing children with drugs, I think all of that's very harmful. So I'm glad that Trump and Elon are doing what they're doing.